All right, hello and welcome to the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers audio series / podcast, depending on where you might be finding this information and this content at the moment. My name is Pat Petrini. I'm the co-author of the #1 best-selling book, The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. And in creating this book, we reached out to some of the very top network marketers in the world, and we interviewed them, some of the top performers, both people that have been around the network marketing world for years and even decades, as well as people that are fairly newcomers that have just been around for the last few years, but have had extreme success in those just those last few years. And we reached out, we interviewed them. That's what this series is all about. You're going to hear interviews from a number of different people. And in these interviews, we dive into not only their tips, strategies, techniques, things that have really accelerated their business, but also, and of course this was sort of the thesis, the theme of the book is the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. We delve into their morning routines and their daily rituals, things that they consider to be critical for success that are really important for them to do every single day. And what we found, the whole concept of the Miracle Morning is that not every successful person does all of these different things every day, but just about every successful person does some of these things every day, has some of these daily rituals, oftentimes morning rituals, and so we dive into that in this audio series. Now, if you're not familiar with the book, you can check out the book, of course, at Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. You'll find it right there. And then, of course, you can also go to our website. You may be listening to this recording right there on our website, but if you're not, if you're finding it somewhere else, go to tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, FOR, networkmarketers.com. Again, my name is Pat Petrini. I hope you're going to enjoy this interview. I know you're going to enjoy this interview. You might want to have a pen and paper handy, and on with the show. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this recording, this interview that we have here. My name is Pat Petrini, and I am really, really excited to have the opportunity to not only include our guests today in this whole project, but to be on the phone here and to share this interview with everybody. I have the one and only amazing Gabriel Mann on the phone. Anna, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. Well, Anna, thanks so much for, of course, your contribution to the book and taking some time to be on here for us to kind of pick your brain a little bit further. Anna, where are you calling from right now?
I'm actually in Western Massachusetts at the moment, but I flip back and forth between here and our place in Florida.
Yeah, I love it. And of course, people kind of got your background from the introduction that I tagged at the beginning here, but maybe to just dive right into it, if you could give us kind of lay out a little bit of your background, where you're from, and kind of your path as an entrepreneur, how you kind of got into the network marketing world to begin with.
Okay. Well, my path to network marketing was pretty humble and pretty simple. I was I was basically a professor at a university out here in the East, and I ended up having a baby, and our first child was born with special needs. And I suddenly was in the place, I was on sabbatical when she was born, but I was in the place suddenly where I couldn't go back to my job because my child's needs were such that I couldn't put her in daycare. And I had no one that could take her during the day when I went to work. So I was suddenly not able to go back to work. And during that year that I was on sabbatical, I had someone offer me my first exposure to network marketing. And I had never had any exposure to any aspect of network marketing. I had never heard of Amway. I knew about Avon, but I thought it was door-to-door sales. I didn't understand there were levels. I didn't understand it. And on concept, my husband John and I frequently say that there are two kinds of people that when they're approached with network marketing have differing reactions. And one of them is like, falling in love at first sight. And the other is like, having complete mistrust, distrust, it's a pyramid or some other negative connotation. I had no connotations of that sort. So I had no negative connotations whatsoever. And I remember when the circles were drawn for me saying, no, wait a minute, I don't understand. You're telling me I'm going to get paid on those people down there? And they were like, yes. And I was like, you're kidding. I wasn't like, oh, wow. I was like, no, that can't be true. You're kidding. So I remember being like, wow. And so then, of course, being the teacher and professor, and, I sat down and, I knew that the monthly minimum order was $100, so I put $100 on every circle and started adding up the commissions and was like, oh, wow, this could actually eclipse my income as a teacher. And so I didn't have any understanding whatsoever of how to grow an organization. I didn't understand anything about network marketing, but I took a position. And I did it that year. I was on sabbatical thinking, well, maybe it'll just give me some grocery money. And my initial goal was, my big goal, and I'm talking grocery money was the first goal, but the second goal was $500 a month. I thought, well, if I can make $500 a month, then, that would pay for a portion of our mortgage, and that would be like, real budget assist money. And so that was my goal. So I proceeded to get the $500 a month. And so every time I'd reach a goal, I would double the goal. So now my goal was $1,000. And I quickly reached the 1,000. So then it was like, okay, so I didn't dare go to 2,000. I thought, well, 2,000, that's too much. So I thought, well, I'll up the goal to 1,500. And so I reached that goal, and then the next goal went to 2,200. And suddenly it was like, okay, now this is like real money. And even as a professor, I wasn't making big money. Teachers at universities didn't make big money unless they were tenured and got all the perks and benefits. So I wasn't making huge money as a professor, and I loved my work, and I taught at the graduate level. But I wasn't, it wasn't like I was doing profoundly well from it. So this suddenly became a way for me to stay home. And as all mothers, any mothers that are listening will appreciate this, and fathers too, your firstborn child, you just fall head over heels in love with them. Like there's just no way that you don't just like your heart bursts open and falls out of your chest. So I was really, really excited to stay home. The idea that I could earn enough money to stay home was more than I could wrangle with, in terms of that just meant I could garden, I could keep a clean house, I could be a full-time mother. There's a lot of perks and benefits that, that people really appreciate. So I just decided that I was going to try to make a run for this thing and see if I could get it to grow. And I didn't understand anything, so I was assuming that everybody recruited every single month and that everybody really put energy into finding new partners and growing their business. So I was doing all the right efforts, but I didn't realize that, 80% of the people don't do those efforts regularly. So our organization grew pretty steadily. And at that time, and this is going to make everyone laugh, we didn't have online genealogies. There were no online back offices. And you got your genealogy once a month, and you got it the month after it happened. So I would get a paper genealogy every month. And I remember the month that I discovered that some woman on my third or fourth level of my organization had gone crazy that month and signed up 11 people, and that some of those 11 had turned around and signed up more. And, there was this leg that was taking off and growing. And that person brought in, like, major supermodels and all kinds of famous people from New York City. So it was really just kind of a hoot to watch it grow. And it just so one thing led to another, and I started to really get very serious about becoming a student of the industry. And so I studied compensation plans, I studied marketing, I studied all the comp plans that were out there so that I could understand the differences between them. And I studied, just sort of methods of prospecting, reaching out, teaching and training. I started running conference calls for my team as a way of gathering people onto a line and being able to gather them around central ideas that were working for me that I wanted to share with others. And so I, by default, took the teaching skills that I had gained as a professor and applied them to my organization, and it was like pouring gasoline onto the fire. It just, immediately not only defined me as the leader of the team, but it also defined the team as a team that was based on coaching, training, and support. And, and so the organization went to the top, and, I ended up growing a very, very big team. And it was a lot of fun. And I never looked back. I never went back to work. I never went back to my career in that industry at all.
And how many years now have you been full-time in the network marketing world?
I have been in the network marketing world more than 20 years now.
Awesome. And, so one of the reasons that I on top of, when we first talked about this, obviously we'll get into this about how passionate you are about the Miracle Morning concept, and you've been doing that for a long time before, without calling it the Miracle Morning or anything like that. We'll dive into that. But also one of the reasons that I was so excited to have you as part of this is because you and your husband have both done a lot in this industry, not just from building in terms of building a business, but you guys have done a lot on the consulting, on the corporate side. You guys have kind of been behind the scenes with a lot of companies, a lot of founders, and things like that. And I really respect the way that you kind of break down comp plans and the way that you look at different companies, what works, what doesn't. And I think that is something that a lot of people don't really know how to pick a good company, and they don't know how to, or even if you give them, even if you say, well, it's important that the founders know what they're doing, then they go to their company website and they look at, okay, who are the founders? Oh, look, there's that 2-paragraph bio, so I guess they do know what they're doing.
Right.
I guess if from your perspective, maybe if you could talk about first off, what are some of the things that you think are really critical in picking a good company right from the because it's obvious if somebody picks a good company. We both know somebody that used to say if you're with the wrong company, you're it doesn't matter how hard you run, you're running on the deck of the Titanic. So how does somebody actually pick a company from the beginning?
It's a really great question, and it doesn't mean that significant leaders don't make wrong picks.
Sure.
And so I really want to say that to begin with, because my husband and I have for 17, 18 years now been corporate consultants in network marketing. So we actually consult to corporations about how do they, about systems. We consult on IT. We consult on compensation. We consult on marketing. And because a network marketing company's job is to market to their field. They are the ones that drive the excitement and that create a lot of very cool understanding about who the company is. They're the ones who define the brand, and they are the ones through their actions and behaviors who define the brand. And so one of the saddest things that, we've observed in network marketing is that there are owners who start network marketing companies for their own gain, financial gain, and a lot of owners do not understand the field and don't maybe even necessarily like the field. They see the field as the sales force and perhaps the necessary evil to having a company that's based on the selling of a product or a series of products. And so the culture of the company may be misunderstood from the very get-go with certain kinds of corporate owners. So one of the things that's hard is that it isn't about the talent of the owners. It's a lot about whether or not they completely and fully embrace and understand the model. Do they understand what network marketing really is? Do they understand that they make or break the culture of the company?
Right.
Because the culture of the company is the number one phenomenon that will keep the company going and keep the company very, very strong in the long run.
And so what do you, when you say culture, when you're talking about culture, what does a good culture look like? What does a not so good culture look like?
A good culture really, really honors the base of the organization. It really honors the brand new distributors and really honors the so-called part-time or small organization distributor. Really, really just places a great deal of emphasis and honor on creating a container that's healthy and good for them, because they are the leading edge of any organization is the brand new distributors. And that is a concept that most, even leaders, don't really understand, that the brand new energy coming into the field is going to embrace the growth, and they're the ones that are going to just really be pouring it on. Unfortunately, in this industry, and it is one of the things that makes corporations crazy, is that leaders will get to specific incomes, and then they'll sit back, and they'll be all about lifestyle. They're like, oh yeah, we're enjoying the highlights. We're out on our boat in our lake, or we're doing this or that. It's great to have days of the week that you're relaxing and having time with family, but if the organization is going to continue to grow, then either new leaders need to be coming in, and or the current leaders need to be committed to the continual growth of the company.
Right.
So the organization or the culture has to be defined, number one, by goodness, by there being a tone of sharing, not divisiveness. There's no individual rock stars among leaders. All the leaders are valued rather than there being favorite children, if you will, from the corporate standpoint. And that there needs to be a very equal treatment of all leaders and a very equal treatment of how the field is managed. The corporation needs to be the corporation. At the same time, there needs to be a very, very strong respect and blending with the field that allows the field to really function at a very high level. And then outside things like, I guess I don't want to say too much about specific situations that I know, but there are companies that really embrace having specific missions like, charitable giving projects and or special themes that are really build the culture. The second piece that's really important to culture is that there is a great movement among leaders to create, systems and websites and all kinds of tools that are driven by a specific leader. And then that specific leader is now wanting to sell their system to the cross lines of the company. And pretty soon what happens, and I've seen it happen, you've seen it happen, Pat, it fractures the culture of the company because it's like people are running after the marketing tool of the week instead of the energy of who are we as a company and what do we stand for. And so some of the most successful companies that I've seen, and certainly the company that I have the most regard and respect for, are companies that develop a company-wide system that is, forgive me for saying this, but corporately driven. Because that really creates the culture. This is how we build. This is what we do. And the second piece is that it has to have an element. Everybody's big into online systems now, but I'm a great believer that if you want a culture to drive, there has to be lots of in-person events and lots of in-person meetings. So some of the most significantly powerful cultures in the last several years or in the last decade have been cultures that have been driven by old-fashioned home meetings and old-fashioned, literally, gatherings that might have anywhere from 35 to 135 or 150 people at them that are just, meetings that are happening, every week or every other week, or, that there's a constant flow. And that's all fed and encouraged by social media and by other outside elements that can be really powerful tools in one's business. But to drive a business through online methods means there's no person-to-person connection, and the culture of the company doesn't develop properly.
Right.
So That's a huge one. Talent at the top in terms of the ownership. For me, I not only want to see that they have that talent, but that they understand how to hire talent. I want to see that they have a very, very big investment in their IT department so that they have seamlessly perfect tools for marketing sites, that they bring in the very best social media experts to represent and protect the company and to keep the company's social media reputation really scrupulously clean and together. I want to know that they're not side selling all over the internet, and that they're really keeping the channel clean and protected for their distributors, and at the same time really enabling their leaders to do their best work, and understanding that leaders are really going to get out there and push the envelope, if you will, a little bit, but at the same time not putting shackles on them that prevent them from being able to grow and take things forward.
Yeah. What about on the opposite side? Are there some just basic kind of deal breakers for you? Obviously, like not having a great culture and not having some of the things that you talked about, but are there maybe some other specific deal breakers for you where you're like, if this, then I definitely wouldn't do that company? Any things that come to mind?
Yeah, there are. And I'll give you just one of them for me is, and I do a lot of consulting on compensation. So, the binary model is very popular.
Right.
But right now in the industry, there are investors that come in and that they're investing in a company, in the startup of a company, and they really have a 7-year exit strategy. So if you're going to be a field member of that company, you're in a 7-year, that the owners have a 7-year commitment, and after that, all bets are off. So I really am not a proponent of binaries, and the reason is that they sound good in theory, because you go to the meeting and they say you only have to get 2. And everybody goes, well, I can get 2, you can get 2, everybody can get 2. But the truth is that the way that this organization builds is it builds off of one strong power leg, and then there's the inside leg. And even if you're placed in a power leg, you have to grow that inside leg all by yourself. But every person you place in that inside leg has to grow their own inside leg. So what happens when it waters down 10 levels and somebody's on the inside of an inside leg, and there's nobody recruiting down their so-called power leg? And
right.
So the drop-off in attrition in binaries is just off the charts. And so I'm just not a lover. That's a deal breaker for me. It just is. I know that a lot of leaders get into them, and they're excited because they do get placed in a power leg because they're a leader. And so, of course, the person that sponsors them wants to make sure they end up in a powerful spot, so they end up getting those primary positions. So there's good positions in those companies and bad positions, and anyone who's brand new to the industry is never going to be in a good position. So I think it's an extremely unfair landscape, and I think that the owners are typically making a lot more profit off of that comp plan than they ever want the field to realize, and I just think it's an unfair situation. So I like comp plans that are real level playing fields where people really have to build something and where there's more equality for every member, and also comp plans that support what I call the $500 to $2,000 check, that really, really support and enable the $5,000 to $2,000 or the $500 to $2,000 check. Because I don't care how you spell it in today's America, that's budget money. That's sneakers for the children, or running shoes, or dance lessons, or new winter coats. That's money for gas for cars. That's money for car payments, house payments. All those things that really do matter. In 2008, when all those foreclosures went down, and in 2009, when foreclosures were still rapidly happening, it was estimated by the U.S. government that a $300 extra per month in the budget of the average American family would have changed the foreclosure dramatically. People would not have lost their houses.
Right.
So, when you think it was that minimal what people needed, you start to understand that part-timers are the glue of network marketing organizations, and they are also the most necessary and essential part. So I want always to know that the company understands that, the company understands customer acquisition and the ability to maintain customers, and also that there's a real emphasis on making the opportunity affordable and workable for that average person that is coming through the door.
I love it. And just jumping back quickly on comp plans, one comment, I tend to totally agree with you on the binary side of things. And by the way, for anybody listening, there's people there's other contributors to the book that will totally disagree with this and have all sorts of comments on binary. And I think the important thing is it's an important discussion to be had. It's important that people are looking at the pros and cons of different comp plans. But my one comment on what you were saying, Anna, is that the unfairness of the binary, for me personally, when I'm bringing people in, when I'm sponsoring a new person, I don't want to have to choose if I put that person in a favorable or an unfavorable position. Like, I don't want to have to make that decision for that, That's the thing that I hate the most, is that every time I sponsor somebody, I have the choice, do I want to put them where it's best for me or where it's best for them? And that's a crappy decision to have to make. So jumping topics a little bit. We were talking earlier as we were kind of prepping for jumping on the call. I was asking you a little bit about prospecting, and you had said how you as a leader are always out there prospecting, and kind of a transition, how now you're kind of doing that more, and kind of a transition that you come from doing more sort of leadership or management stuff. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about that.
I'd be happy to, because when I first got into the industry, and what I really was a teacher, my initial success in the industry was based on teaching other people the skills that I was gaining. So as I was gaining skills, I was teaching those skills to my team. Over the years, I also am a great believer that support systems are really what create culture. So good companies create all kinds of great ways of supporting and training their field. My current company has an amazing back office with just incredible training in that back office. I mean, so stunning that I barely need to create anything on my own. And as a leader, I'm used to having to create training, having to really put energy into training. But one of the things that became abundantly clear to me over the years that I've been in the industry is that you can train people, you can spend hours of every week training people, but it doesn't mean, and they'll be appreciative and they'll love you for it, but that's actually not the goal of your business, is to be loved by your team. The goal of your business is for your team to grow, and the truth is that your team grows because you're modeling for the team what it takes for it to grow.
Right.
And the single most important thing to the growth of any organization is people that actually are recruiting new partners into the organization. And when I say that I want to see a company, one of the company culture's values has to be in complete support of the brand new distributor, so that the brand new distributor has systems that really just engage them immediately in learning how to start and knowing what to do, and having even the front end of the comp plan stacked in their favor to support their beginning and their getting their business in cash flow, etc. Those are all very important because they are the lifeblood of an organization, is the new distributors. So if you're going to teach your team that what it takes to grow a team is not to get dismayed when the first 3 people you sign up don't do anything, because then it's like, okay, so these 3 aren't going to do anything. What does that mean I need to do? It means I need to go sign up 3 more. Because if they're not going to take action, then you need to find 3 who do.
Right.
So if that's your goal, if it takes signing up, 15 to find 3 that actually take action, that are coachable, that work with you every day, and that take action, then that's what you have to show your team is what you are willing to do. And then once you have the 3, again, I'm all about putting a fair amount of energy into helping someone get their business started, because I know that getting people started properly is also a huge, big clue to the success of an organization, is that when people know what to do and they're not confused about what to do and they have the support of a backing upline, that's a powerful, powerful thing. And that's something we do in spades in my organization. So 3-way calls and, all kinds of support services. We want people to learn the basic premises of professional network marketing, which is don't be a presenter, be an inviter. So we're teaching people to invite, and then a presentation happens, which is third party. It's not delivered by you or them. And then a 3-way call or a follow-up question and answer session happens where they listen while you answer questions. So it's very, very cleanly taught. It's very simple to duplicate, and it really, really works. And there can be all kinds of online support tools and other things that people can look at, which is awesome. And those, if in a good company, are provided by an awesome, marketing site that has everything on it. That's just incredible. So those kinds of things can be created. But prospecting is the lifeblood of an organization, and your job as a leader is to model the action and behavior that drives an organization to grow. And so I really teach prospecting. I teach people that inviting is a simple, simple situation. I was able to invite somebody while waiting for a table at a restaurant recently. I ended up sitting at a bar while waiting for a seat in this restaurant, and there was this lovely woman and her daughter next to us. We got to chatting, and she asked what I did, and she was sharing about what she did, and when I shared what I did, she basically said, well, I'd be interested in hearing more about that. And I said, well, great. If you'll just give me your email, I'll send you some information, and we can continue the conversation next week. I don't want to take up your time right now. And she was perfectly, immediately gave it to me, and that was that. And she signed up a week later. So, it's all about follow-up, but it's also about understanding that recruiting is not about clobbering somebody over the head and dragging them to the cave and then making them sit in front of videos for the next 4 hours and listen to lots of presentations. It's really tactful. I basically told her that I coach people to replace their current income from home and grow successful home businesses. I never even told her what I did in the bigger picture. She said, I'm interested in that. I want to know more about that. And
I love it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I love it. When you were talking about, coming from being a teacher and kind of having that tendency to want to teach and sort of manage your organization, do a lot of coaching, a lot of training, but instead and then realizing to start really leading by example and doing all the things that you want your team to be doing. I think that it's easy for us to think that once we kind of hit those, once somebody gets to a certain level, that we can best throw gasoline on our team by gasoline on the fire, by sharing our pearls of wisdom that we have. And really, like you said, it's really new blood. And I think Jim Rohn said it best. We're not going to probably have too much success trying to turn ducks into eagles, right? It's really just we need to go out there and find new eagles. And we can spend a lot of time. It's easy to get caught in that where you're spending a lot of time, though, on that kind of teaching and managing and all that kind of stuff once you get to a certain level.
Not only is that the truth, but it brings us back to the Miracle Morning. And one of the things that I always share with my personal people that I sponsor is that success in network marketing is an inside job. And by that, I mean that it's a personal growth opportunity disguised as a direct sales opportunity. Yeah. And most people confuse network marketing with selling, and they think their job is to go out and sell. And so they're, first off, nervous about selling to their friends and family, and so they don't understand that their job is not to be a pitch artist and not to do any of that. But second, they don't understand that when you say it's a personal growth track disguised as a network marketing opportunity, they don't understand what that means initially. And one of the reasons that I introduce people to the Miracle Morning is that I believe that hour a day spent reading development possibly re-listening to a conference call that you might have missed, staying connected to the culture of your team, and spending time, however you might define it, with your maker. In the sense of part of the miracle morning is that, period of time of prayer or meditation, that quiet time where you go within and really connect. Mm-hmm. And also that affirmations, goal setting, journaling, whatever it is that helps you to define your dream. And what I want to say about that is this. I really am a great believer that, first off, that we have a very merciful maker. And the divine is not only with you at all times, but knows you better than you know yourself and wants nothing but good for you. And that what happens in life is that we get in the way of bringing that really profound goodness forward. And I don't want to define it in any particular spiritual vein, but I will say that I believe, I'll just say, I really speak to the divine as God. But personally for me, I know that God not only wants my greater good, but that what happens for most people is we get in the way of our relationship to God. And the way we get into our way with it is that we actually never engage in the relationship. And, people go to church maybe on Sunday, but that's, a group activity. If you're really going to engage in a relationship with God, you have to get quiet and spend time with God. You have to actually put your prayers before God. You have to put your dreams before God. You have to talk over your problems with God. You have to really get in that connection that allows that door to open to a deeper sense of spiritual connection and understanding. And in that, I'm also a believer, and this is going to sound very new agey, but I'm a believer that thoughts are things. I mean, quantum physics has proven
a believer that say that again. A believer that what?
That thoughts are things.
Oh, thoughts are things. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, quantum physics has proven that in submolecular and atomic movement of things that there is no linear pathway to how things come together. Things simply come together because of the law of attraction. So thoughts are things. Whatever you're thinking about your world is how your world is going to unfold. So having affirmations, having things that you repeat to yourself. I mean, one of my favorite network marketers actually had an affirmation that he said, successful people call me and because they want to join my business. Successful business people call me to join my business.
Right.
And so he was reversing it. He wasn't going looking for them. They were coming to him. And he repeated this many, many times per day for years. And by the time he really got his organization going, he had, on average 3 to 4 successful business people calling him every day to join his organization. So he actually believed that reality would be true, and it was true. So, I guess I want to couch it in God terms because I want to say that I think we get in God's way all the time. There's gimme prayers. They're like, oh God, give me this title, or give me, this much money a month, or give me this, give me that new car. There's gimme prayers, and then there's like getting in a more real, abundant relationship with knowing that God actually wants to give you everything. So get in line with believing and trusting and leaning in and being in connection. And the miracle morning, for me, the first period of time that I was really in it was long before this book ever came to be. And it was another trainer who basically influenced me to spend an hour every morning before my day began. So I would actually get up extra early ahead of children and, spouses and the whole 9 yards to have this hour to myself. But it would set the tone for my day, and it would also make clear for me, I would write my goals for the day and my goals for what I wanted to accomplish that month in my business, so that it was very, very clearly defined that if I was going to get this done, I would have to take this action, and I would need to really stay on track. but I also invested in affirmations and things that were about building my own belief in my ability. And, an affirmation can be something really simple like, I'm drawing a blank, but, something really simple like, I am always, I'm always supported in everything I do.
Sure.
Because then it's, you just never know how the universe is going to unfold so that something comes in to support you. It could be somebody to watch your child for 3 hours in the afternoon while you get phone calls done. But believing and getting underneath yourself in that miracle morning is really powerful. The second piece that I love about the miracle morning is that it incorporates exercise, because exercise makes endorphins. And it also is just known that when you move the circulation and move the chi, so to speak, that you just get your body going and you get your day going and everything feels better. I mean, there's just a world of science on that. So, it just defines for people, if they're willing to do it and spend that time every day, they're going to be focused on their business in a different way. They're going to be focused on their leadership and their skill in taking their world forward, even if it's, it has to do, and it can have to do with every corner of your life, your children, your family, your relationships. So, it's not just about your business, but if you engage in that relationship, you can open up your heart to your maker, because your maker really wants to see inside and does see inside. So making yourself vulnerable for just an hour a day and making that time, that's the piece. Will you make the time for that meeting?
Right.
And if you knew. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, if you knew that for the next 7 days, if you spent an hour every morning, meeting with God or meeting with, the divine or the universe, or, just spending time in quiet contemplation and meditation, that every day you were going to be given one number to the Powerball, but you had to do it 7 days in a row for a full hour, there's not a person listening to this call that wouldn't get in there on their cushion every morning and take the hour.
Right, exactly.
It is the same. Yeah, and it is the same, because that is the way the universe works. Whatever you put your thoughts and your attention on is what will manifest.
Right. Yeah, and it really is something that it's like the whole thing. It's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. It's those things that they may not. They do have in some ways very immediate impact on us, but sometimes it's easy for us to not prioritize the miracle morning because other things come up. But for me, it's as I'm kind of laying out my 2015 goals. We're here right at the beginning of 2015, and my number one priority is I've decided is like really defending my morning routine from all threats, and because I know that every other area of my life gets better as long as if that is intact, my professional, my personal, every other aspect of it. But if you would, I'm always curious, because everybody kind of does it different ways and has like their different, what they spend time on and their different tweaks to their routine. Like, walk us through, what your routine is.
My routine is, I actually spend I spend more than an hour on my miracle.
Totally, yeah. I'm
kind of
with
a little
you.
bit. All right.
Mine is mutated into like a several hour thing, which I love, and also it maybe is less practical for some people to just getting started and that sort of thing. But yeah, whatever yours happens to be, I'd love to hear the details of kind of what you do.
All right. Well, you may be similar to me, and that is that a lot of network marketing leaders are extroverts, but in my opinion, some very significant network marketing leaders are introverts. Yeah. And my husband John, being an example, he had 300,000 people in his first downline, and he's a very significant but quiet introvert, and he's a real thinker. He knows what he thinks about things. Yeah. And also a miracle morning person. So, we both have a very, very intentional creation of our lives. And I say that intentional because I believe that the miracle morning is about setting your intentions and really letting them be you're setting the context of your life. So for me, there are several contexts in my life that are extreme. Like anybody who's ever met me, I'm extremely small and I'm very fit, and I'm older, so I'm extremely fit for my age. Most people are usually letting themselves fall apart at a certain point, and then they're trying to play catch up to the fact that they've gotten out of habits that are about not eating right, not taking care of themselves, those kinds of things. So working out is a part of my morning every day, and I'm not happy for that to be just 20 minutes. So my workout is the minimum of 40 minutes.
What do you typically do as a workout?
Well, I actually belong to an all-women's gym, and so I spend usually an hour a day working out, but it isn't always in the morning. I'll do 40 minutes in the morning, which will include a brisk walk of 3 to 4 miles, followed, or some sort of cardio, followed by free weights and all kinds of yoga moves and all, squats and lunges and all kinds of things that are just about building my strength, so that I'm flexible and strong. So I engage in a combination of yoga, Pilates, pure cardio, and then I have a really regular strength training and a once-a-week meeting with a personal trainer. So I keep a really good, solid, and my husband does too. So we're both extremely fit for our age and stuff. So that's a real part of our day. We're also eat organically, and we're really into bullet drinks and really high power nutrition. So, but my morning routine is much more personal and much more spiritually centered. I meditate for an hour every morning, and my meditation is not just a sitting still with my eyes closed kind of thing. I start with sort of my own personal prayer. In that I really believe in speaking to my maker. I also like to get quiet and get, internal and just let, my maker or let the divine speak to me, because I believe that it's a two-way relationship, and you have to listen. As most people in prayer, they're just speaking, but you have to really quiet down to listen. And I believe that the voice of the divine is, whether you define it as the Holy Spirit or however you speak to it, it's speaking to us all the time. So if you're listening, you really will be amazed at how often it's speaking to you. So I spend the first 5 minutes just kind of in a personal prayer, and then I just quiet down, and I get very body-centered, because science has really shown us that if you focus your breathing and focus yourself on tracking the sensations in your physical body and going from head to toe and really kind of getting into your physical body, that you move your thinking out of the neocortex and you move into the subbrains. You move into the pineal gland, the cerebellum, you move into, and you also get yourself out of chronic motions of thoughts of lack or thoughts of trauma or thoughts of worry, insecurity, and what I would call loathing anxiety, which is very, very prevalent for a lot of people in this culture, and I have never been immune to that. Well, just like everybody else is not immune to it. It's easy to worry about your kids. It's easy to worry about money. It's easy to worry about those things. But when you calm down your brain and you get into your body physically, get your attention in your body, you slow down your brain waves, get out of the neocortex, and you get out of the part of your brain that's just flat, continuing to think, and you can get yourself calmed down. When you get into that calm, quiet place, that's when I really like to sort of open up the gate and not only have a real conversation quietly internally with the divine, but to really open up the gates to the divine to sort of just be present. And that's when I spend time visualizing my future, visualizing the life I'm creating, visualizing the good stuff that I see as the future realm. And then from there, I kind of just let it simmer and go there in that place, and then I just stay in that quiet place until the time is up. And at that point, I actually do I actually write affirmations, and I continue to sort of hone my affirmations. My affirmations, if I were to speak them all in one shot, take me about 12 minutes.
Yep.
Because they cover everything. They cover my children, my husband, my relationships, my business, my personal life, my spiritual life. They cover everything. So I go into those. I actually have them recorded on iTunes on my phone. So I actually often will start my walk by listening to my affirmations.
I like that.
So
that's awesome.
I head out the door, listen to my affirmations as I start my walk. Now, we're talking early morning. I live in the beautiful countryside. So I'm on a country road in a beautiful place in rural western Massachusetts with mountains in the distance and beautiful, beautiful trees, hawks everywhere. So I just go out and I enjoy nature, but I let those affirmations float. And then when they're done, I don't keep playing them. I stop them, and I just let myself enjoy that morning time and enjoy the aerobic of getting a really good brisk walk in. And then I go back and I start the rest of my workout. I am not as much a journaler. I don't journal as much. I do a little bit of journaling that's more that I either recopy affirmations or I clarify affirmations or I recopy significant phrasing from books that I'm studying. And the last thing that's in my miracle morning, and it's in my miracle night as well, is I go to bed at night with a brief 10 or 15-minute meditation, and I always spend 10 to 15 minutes in a personal growth book that's deeply inspiring. And I will highlight those books like crazy, and then sometimes in my journal what I do is I will rewrite sections of things that I've highlighted that I want to really kind of embed. Like in the last year, I've done a deep study of quantum physics and really, really understand that, the universe is really just completely made of love, and that every action has a reaction, and that everything is completely joined and connected, and that, you are much more in control of your destiny than you realize. And so it's deepened my faith, it's deepened my belief and understanding in the power of spending quiet time alone and in that more contemplative place, because you are the creator of your destiny and your future. And so taking that personal responsibility is everything.
Well, you had mentioned books, and just last couple of questions here as we're kind of coming to the end. Any incredible books that you've if there were a couple books that you feel like have been most impactful to you, or have really been pivot points for you over your life, any ones that jump out at you, or any that have just been spectacular that you've read recently?
Oh boy.
I know your list of great books is 1,000 books long, but just a few that come to mind that just really have influenced you.
I loved As a Man Thinketh. I love Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. I love, let me just scroll my iPad here for a second. And, I read all over the map. My husband and I read a lot of novels because we're both writers. And so we really, really get into reading novels. I read a lot of personal growth as well. So, boy.
Yeah, just I was just curious. Any that pop into mind as far as being major ones over your life. Always interested to hear what people say.
One that I really loved was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to jot that one down.
Amazing book, absolutely amazing book, and it really is kind of his work is kind of a cornerstone of some of my miracle morning techniques.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also, I love all of the Napoleon Hill, and I think those are books really worth studying. As a Man Thinketh is also a brilliant book, really worth taking on. I love John Maxwell, and I love all his books on leadership. And there's, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership it's a really powerful book and worth studying.
Yeah,
and you can
that's
take anyone.
Classic.
Yeah, any one chapter of that book will just blow your mind because it's really the truth. And if you look at your own life and look at the style of leadership you're getting into, you'll really see that, we kind of fall into the categories of, are you a whiner? Are you a complainer? Are you a get-her-done kind of person? Are you a self-starter? Do you take personal responsibility? Do you care about the people around you? Like there's a great story in the beginning about, the two guys that went to the South Pole, and, one of them really just didn't outfit his people properly and really wasn't concerned. He was so ego-bound to the goal that he didn't take care of his team, and they all perished. The other guy was really, really connected to his team and really most concerned about their safety, and they, of course, made it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's leadership really does need to embody, deep integrity. And, I think that where the industry goes wrong and where, leadership goes wrong is when people get really self-serving and self-centered. My favorite book, I have to be self-serving for one moment, is my husband's book, The Go-Giver, which is now in 23 languages. And
which is an amazing book.
Yeah, an amazing book. And it was funny, last night people were tweeting about it. The book is just surging forward. I mean, all over the planet, people are really getting amazingly hip to the book. So in languages all over the world, it's going crazy, and the tweet deck gets completely consumed by people tweeting about it every day. And some guy from England who was a network marketer said, not only is the Go-Giver great, but Go-Givers Sell More, which is a companion book to it, is also great. And so those are two books that in this industry, the first law in the Go-Giver is, putting other people's interests ahead of your own, and that's a really powerful thing when you're there for the people on your team and when you're really looking at the organization as something that's a living, breathing culture. That really changes your perspective. A lot of people have a misperception of network marketing as a giant pig pile of you just get in as early as you can and, get as many people under you as you can. And, it's just they have really wrong concepts about what it is. So it does, it changes it. And, I think Miracle Morning can shift it all for people too, because I think it's such a powerful concept to just spend that time every day just investing in yourself. And no matter what you touch, it's going to change everything.
Well, it's one of the reasons I'm so excited to get this message out there in the network marketing spaces, because just within my own team, as I've been able to share the original book with some people and seeing how actionable it is, people actually can very easily implement it, and just have had how consistently it dramatically changes people. If they're not already implementing something like this, once they start doing it, it just is totally is a pivot point for people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
I really, really appreciate you taking all the time that you have on this call and also just on this project in general. Any closing comments or anything that we didn't touch on that you want to throw out there before we wrap everything up?
No, I really, it's, people can really get their Miracle Morning down to 45 or 50 minutes. I mean, it doesn't have to take up their life. I think that's
totally
the other piece I like to share is that, I have the luxury. I work from home. I can define my own morning, but I still get up early.
Right.
And I still really invest in this Miracle Morning. By my day is on track by 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and I've already got all this stuff behind me. And my Miracle Morning is it's really close to 2 hours. But I really want people to understand that you could take your Miracle Morning down to if you're going to work out at 4 in the afternoon, you could get your Miracle Morning down to a 10-minute walk and, take the rest of the time and have it all wrapped up in 40 minutes and still have 20 or 30 minutes to read some personal growth. And that personal growth will set your day and your mind into a new zone. Because if you're reading good material, it will inspire your day and it'll keep resonating. You'll keep thinking about it. And the last thing that I would add is that, the second piece for me is feed your mind with something wonderful before you go to sleep. My husband's parents had an agreement that they never had any difficult conversations after 9 p.m. in their marriage.
Yeah.
And it was because they wanted to go to bed in a good space. Well, I extend that. My husband and I both take, 5 to 10 minutes just to chat with each other, and another 10 or 15 minutes to read personally something meaningful and inspiring. Sometimes we share readings that we're sharing before we go to sleep, because if you have that quiet time to just feed something positive into your brain, it's a really powerful thing. And even to repeat one or two of your just most heartfelt emotional affirmations, things that really just put you in touch with your inner core, or a mission statement that you have, or something of that sort that just brings you back home to who you are. And that I guess that's my final, is that, this is a process that's about deepening who you are, because the other truth that's true in network marketing is that you're attracting people by who you are.
Right.
And, being a sincere and good person is it's a good thing. People are attracted to that. And, it really does, it just, I don't know, it makes you more heartful. It deepens your sense of self. It creates a lot of wonderful ripples that sometimes you don't even recognize till they're just going out like waves on a pond. And so I just encourage people to take the time for yourself and invest. That's, I guess, my final message.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I really appreciate you. And also for anybody that if you're wanting to get additional information on Anna, you can, Anna Gabriel Mann, you can look for her. Also her husband, John David Mann, as Anna has mentioned, they're both extremely prolific and accomplished authors, a number of incredible books out there in addition to the Go-Giver and Go-Giver Sells More that you mentioned. Any other, resources or things that, people, if they want to find more about you or anything like that people should know to check out?
Well, since we're not giving out websites and other things of that sort, look for me on Facebook, private message me, let me know you're out there. I'm always interested in meeting people. I'm not a big Facebooker, and social media is not my strength, but definitely contact me, and if you want to, and I absolutely am open to dialogue. So just start the conversation.
Well, thanks so much, Anna. I really, really appreciate your time, and thanks to everybody tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey, this is Pat Petrini again, and just to wrap up really quickly, I just want to remind you that if you liked this interview, we've got a whole bunch more. If you go to our website, it's tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, FOR, networkmarketers.com. And of course, if you haven't checked out the book yet, you can go to, first off, you get 2 free chapters of the book at tmm4networkmarketers.com. And then, of course, if you want to get the book, go to Amazon and just search for The Miracle Morning for networkmarketers.com, and you can get it paperback, Kindle, whatever. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of the content that we've made available for you. Thanks a lot. Again, my name is Pat Petrini, and I'll see you on the next interview.